In the late 1950s, China was undergoing a radical transformation under the leadership of Chairman Mao Zedong, the founder of the People's Republic of China. Mao launched a series of ambitious and controversial campaigns known as the Great Leap Forward to rapidly industrialize and modernize the country and to achieve his vision of a socialist utopia. Mao believed that China could surpass the Western powers in economic and military strength, and that the Chinese people could overcome any obstacle with their collective will and effort. One of the main goals of the Great Leap Forward was to increase the agricultural production and to feed the growing population of China. Mao encouraged the peasants to form communes and to adopt new methods and techniques of farming, such as deep plowing, close planting, and irrigation. Mao also urged the peasants to produce more steel and to set up backyard furnaces, where they melted down their tools and utensils. Mao also initiated a nationwide campaign called the Four Pests Campaign to eliminate 4 pests that were considered harmful to the crops and the people: rats, flies, mosquitoes, and sparrows. The Four Pests Campaign was one of the first actions taken in the Great Leap Forward and was launched in 1958. The campaign aimed to mobilize the entire population of China, especially the youth and the children, to hunt and kill the 4 pests and to collect and report their numbers. The campaign was seen as a patriotic duty and as a way of improving the hygiene and the health of the nation. The campaign also offered rewards and incentives such as cash, food, and recognition to those who participated and performed well. The most notorious and disastrous target of the campaign was the sparrow, a small and common bird that was found in both rural and urban areas of China. The sparrow was accused of being a major enemy of the agriculture and of eating and destroying the grains and the seeds. The sparrow was also blamed for spreading diseases and parasites, and for disturbing the peace and the order of the society. The sparrow was declared to be a public enemy and a threat to the national security and the prosperity of China. The campaign against the sparrows was ruthless and relentless and involved various methods and tactics of extermination. The people used guns, slingshots, nets, traps, poisons, and explosives to kill the sparrows. The people also destroyed the nests and the eggs of the sparrows and killed the chicks. The people also used noise and harassment to drive away the sparrows and to prevent them from resting and nesting. The people banged pots and pans, drums and gongs, whistles and horns, and shouted and clapped to create a constant and deafening din. The people chased and followed the sparrows wherever they flew and landed and denied them any refuge or respite. The campaign against the sparrows was successful and effective and resulted in the mass slaughter and the near extinction of the sparrows in China. According to some estimates, the people killed about 2 billion sparrows and reduced their population by 90%. The people celebrated and praised their achievement and reported and displayed their results. The people also received their rewards and incentives and felt proud and satisfied. The people believed that they had done a great service to the country and that they had contributed to the Great Leap Forward. However, the campaign against the sparrows was also foolish and fatal and had unforeseen and devastating consequences for the ecology and the economy of China. The sparrow, as it turned out, was not only a consumer but also a regulator of the insects and the pests that infested the crops and the fields. The sparrow, as it turned out, was not only a pest but also a predator of the locusts and the caterpillars that devoured the plants and the grains. The sparrow, as it turned out, was not only an enemy but also an ally of the agriculture and the people. The campaign against the sparrows disrupted and destroyed the natural balance and the food chain of the ecosystem and unleashed a plague of insects and pests that ravaged the crops and the fields. The locusts and the caterpillars multiplied and spread and ate and damaged the plants and the grains. The crops and the fields were devastated and ruined, and the harvest and the yield were reduced and lost. The campaign against the sparrows also contributed and exacerbated the effects of other factors and events such as the droughts and the floods, the mismanagement and the corruption, the exaggeration and the falsification that plagued and undermined the Great Leap Forward. The campaign against the sparrows led to a Great Famine that lasted from 1959 to 1961 and that killed millions of people in China. The famine was one of the worst and the deadliest in history and was a humanitarian and a political catastrophe. The famine caused widespread starvation and malnutrition and resulted in diseases and deaths. The famine also caused social and psychological problems and resulted in violence and crimes. The famine also caused political and ideological crises and resulted in dissent and rebellion. The famine also caused international and diplomatic isolation and resulted in criticism and condemnation. The campaign against the Sparrows was a tragic and a terrible mistake that cost China dearly and that haunted Mao and his legacy. The campaign against the Sparrows was a lesson and a warning that showed the dangers and the risks of acting without factual information and scientific knowledge and of ignoring and neglecting the consequences and the feedback of one's actions and policies. The campaign against the Sparrows was a story and a metaphor that illustrated the folly and the futility of trying to conquer and control nature and of imposing and enforcing one's will and vision on reality. The campaign against the Sparrows was a great war that ended in a great defeat and that left a great scar. The campaign against the Sparrows was a great war that killed millions of people and that killed millions of sparrows.